This is the time my mom faked her death so she didn't have to take care of me and my siblings. Yes, this girl really faked her death. So at the time, I was 5 and my little brother was 3. It started off with my mom saying that she didn't feel well and she couldn't pick me up from school, so the bus would have to take me home. Well, a few months after, she started getting picked up from our house by this black car. She said that car was picking her up because of her so-called doctor's appointments. And she wasn't able to drive herself because she was too sick. Well, one day when this car came to pick her up, she never came home. Me and my little brother were sitting around for a couple days waiting for her to come home, but she never came home. And we were young, so we didn't do anything. Eventually, my aunt came over to our house and told my little brother and I that our mom had passed away and that she was cremated and they kept the ashes. So our aunt started taking care of us. Until one day I saw my aunt getting picked up by that same black car. That's when I started to get suspicious of everything and I decided to check these ashes. When I checked, it was flour. Like for part 2. This is part 2 of the time my mom faked her death so she didn't have to take care of me and my siblings. Like I said, my aunt told me that my mom had died and they cremated her and they let her keep the ashes and that she was going to start taking care of us. Me not knowing how long the cremating process actually took at the time since I was so young, I believed her. Until one day I saw my aunt getting picked up by the same black car that my mom used to get picked up by before she died. That's when I decided to check these supposed ashes and it was actually flour. So one day when my aunt got picked up by this black car, I decided to follow her. I didn't have a car, I was 5 years old, so I had to follow them by walking and hiding behind bushes. I was able to follow them up the street, and once they turned the corner, and there I saw my mom standing on the side of the street. That's when I see the car stop and I see my aunt get out and approach my mother. She tells my mom to give her money for covering for her and taking care of me and my little brother. Mom says she faked her death because my dad wasn't in our lives and she didn't want to take care of us anymore. I'm older now and I cut her off completely and I have full custody of my little brother.
Some teachers just really get on my nerves, you know? I don't know what planet they're on, but they definitely are just built different. Here's an example. When you need to go to the toilet, you politely put your hand up and say, "Miss, can I go to the toilet?" "No, you should have gone at lunch." "I'm sorry, Karen, but I can't control my bladder. You know, at lunch, when I'm eating and drinking, it gets digested, and then later on, I need to go to the toilet. It will take me 5 minutes at max. Probably not even 5 minutes. Considering our lessons are like an hour long, I'm sure that's not too much of an issue, is it?" And then sometimes they're just like, "Okay, but you need to wait until so-and-so gets back." I need to go to the toilet. I don't care about talking to anyone. I want to go to the toilet. I don't care about that. What do you think we're going to do in there? Just sit and chat for the rest of the lesson? No. And then they're like, "Don't want you having a bit of a mother's meeting in there." Oh my god. And the scariest thing in school is when they put the I can't even say it, the name on the board. Ah!
Do you ever just sometimes get so bored you literally do the most random things ever? Like the other day, I no joke walked outside, sat on the ground, and stared at anyone who passed my house. Like, what? Is this what boredom does to me?
Story time about this girl who faked being Latina. So there was this girl who went to my school. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is the queen of lies. In every subject we talk about, Sarah always, and I mean always, comes up with a lie that has to do with her life. Here's an example. What if we're talking about Tom Holland? She'd just come in and say, "Oh yeah, Tom Holland is my dad's friend. I met him once." You know, these types of lies. Another one is when she told everyone she's Latina. It was lunchtime in school and we were talking about where we went for the summer. Sarah tells us that she went to Spain and she started telling us on what she did there and says that she's 50% Latina. She also said that she lived in Spain for 6 years. And if there is any person who lived in Spain for 6 years, they must know how to speak Spanish. And then my friend Kayla asked Sarah, "What does good morning mean in Spanish?" And then Sarah looks at us, looks back at her food, and said, "I don't know, I'm still taking Spanish lessons." And we just look at her, that she doesn't even know what good morning means in Spanish. If she had lived in Spain for 6 years, she would have known what it meant. I don't know how, but that incident has spread around the entire school. Every person that walks past Sarah just says, "Buenos dias," basically teasing her about not knowing what good morning means in Spanish. And then Sarah didn't show up to school for 3 days after that. And oh boy, we haven't even gotten to the crazy part. The 3 days pass and Sarah comes back to school. As soon as she walks into the class, everyone's eyes was on her. She came up, sat in her seat, and this lady showed up in a crop top, skinny jeans, fake nails, and fake lashes. And her hair was in a bun with edges. Yes, you heard me, edges. This lady is white. And in lunchtime, she took out a bag of hot Cheetos and some dipping sauce. I don't know if this was supposed to make us think she's Latina, but trust me, it didn't work. All of the freshmen and sophomores took out their phone and started filming her. This is where I kind of felt bad, but she ran to the bathroom crying, and she just stayed there and didn't show up to any classes for the rest of the day.
Story time. So this was 2 years ago, and I was at school, and it was a normal day until the principal went on the speaker and said, "We're in lockdown, go in your closets." So we went ahead and went in the closets. We were all confused. Some people were scared. Everyone was like kind of asking the teacher what was going on and stuff. Now during this time, I wasn't asking anything or saying anything because I knew during a lockdown you don't want to say anything. So if there is someone in the school, they won't find where you are. But I was still listening to them because I was curious like everyone else. So while everyone was asking the questions, one girl stood up and said, "If you're not going to say what's going on, I'm going to get out of the closet." The teacher yelled at her and told her no. And the teacher yelled loud, so whoever was in the school obviously heard. So the door opened and everyone became silent.
It is so annoying when you're just talking to your friend about something actually related to something in class, and your teacher just comes up to you staring and says petty stuff like, "I'll wait." Like, okay, thanks, I guess. That would be great, to be honest. Or, oh my god, when they pull out the "keep talking, it's fine, you don't have to listen to my lesson. Nobody's stopping you from leaving my class." Literally stop. Firstly, the law is stopping me from leaving the class. Secondly, I would listen if you weren't reading off the board the whole time just because you don't understand the topic too. Either learn and understand the stuff you're teaching, or stop complaining. I hate it so much when you're in a classroom and you're just minding your own business and doing the work, you know, and the teacher is walking around the classroom like a lost sheep, comes up right to your face saying, "Can I help you?" Like, no, Mr. Jones! Do you see my hand up? No! And literally he always has that strong coffee breath. And I'm just like, please back off. 6 feet, 6 feet. Also, he just happens to be that one teacher who gives you so much homework saying that you have to give it in before the deadline, when he's there taking months to mark them. Like, make that make sense. Okay, but do you know what I find funny? When you get your marked tests back and you look through them, and that one student who tries so hard to get one extra mark saying that the teacher marked it wrong, or this is basically that answer. Like, no, Samantha, it is wrong. Deal with it. That one mark really isn't going to make a difference, okay? But then, to be honest, it does waste time, and that lesson is probably most likely really, really boring, because most are. So I guess sometimes it's kinda good. Thanks, Samantha. Go get your extra 2%. The most annoying thing ever is when you have something really important or exciting to do. So you go do it, but on the way you get distracted. And when you carry on walking into the room again, you're just standing there like, what was I supposed to do again? And literally, the more you think about it, try to remember, the more you forget, and then you're just mad at yourself for the rest of the night. This happened to my sister last night. So she comes into my room, right? And then it literally looks like she's possessed or something, because she just stared at my wall for like 2 minutes and walked out without saying anything. Like, what? You know, when you tell your mom, "Mom, my phone is so laggy. The battery goes too quick. Everything's just not working. And I've got good grades so far. Please, can I get a new phone?" You know, they're pretty reasonable, sensible reasons. Then she has the audacity to say no. Huh? My dad. Yes, that guy over there. Literally has 3 phones. Like, I know that he bought it with his own money, and he can do whatever he wants with his own money. But 3 phones. Seriously. And he's like, "Oh, I need one for work, one's for personal, and an extra for reading." No! You don't need 3 phones. He's got 3. And I can't even get a replacement.